Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode from the Retail Story, a podcast series that explores how technology is transforming retail, both from the business and consumer perspectives. For everyone joining for the first time here, each of our episodes features conversations with technology leaders and domain experts who talk about everything in and around the challenges retailers face, the ways to address them, new and emerging trends in industry, and digital strategies that retailers are implementing today to win customer love and stay ahead of the game. I am your host, Meenu Manisha Babil, and today I have with me yet another industry expert, Shahin, who is currently the head of product management e-commerce at extra.com, one of the leading consumer electronics and home appliances retail giants. Today, extra.com is the most popular destination and has more than 12 million shoppers with 45 branches across the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Oman. Shaheen has over 15 years of experience with Fortune 500 retailers, including Walmart, ASDA, Argos, TJ Maxx, Philips, and he has been with Extra for the past 7+ years. Welcome to the show, Shaheen. Thank you for joining us, and it's a pleasure to host you.
Hey, thank you, Menu. Thank you very much for that hefty introduction. And yeah, really looking forward to the podcast and yeah, pleasure to be joining you guys today.
Thank you so much. Let us just start with your background, your experiences, and something. Why retail? How did you start like your journey in retail?
Yeah, so I'm 15 years into the industry now, in let's say different capacities, different roles. I started off as a technology person 15 years back on retail space, but mostly on technology side. I used to be an ATG developer back then, even without having any background in coding, etc. So it was like a completely different career switch after
Mhm.
studies, etc. So I used to work with Wipro previously before Extra, and yeah, as I said, I started off as an ATG developer. Then eventually, I figured that coding probably was not my forte, and I wanted to move into a more dynamic, let's say, space, which was business functional side for me from a retail standpoint, and that is where I switched to moving into another multiple other projects where I got into a functional e-commerce, let's say, business analyst space, and I've gone probably uh, from various breadths of industries. Even this is even, let's say, I think it covers a breadth of technology and industries as well. So I've worked in, let's say, retail space, e-commerce. I've worked in government space. I've worked in healthcare to an extent. I've worked in fashion over for a brief amount of time. But e-commerce retail has been my let's say pet peeve for quite some time, and this is where my expertise is as well. And so after almost 8.5 years with Wipro, with massive retailers like Asda, Walmart, Philips, that is where I decided to make my jump from Wipro uh, onto the Middle East and basically moved to Saudi Arabia around 7 years back. And I've been with Extra of leading their, let's say, e-commerce product journey. So again, we started off when we were almost very negligent from a store versus e-commerce split. I mean, this was where probably Extra was almost not moving away, but moving into more of a digital transformation space. And we've come a long way in this last 7 years. So we've now, major chunk or a major share with respect to the split in business between online and stores. So yeah, that is where that's been the journey up till now, from let's say 15 years back till now. Touch wood.
Awesome. You've covered all the industries and probably all the sectors I could dream of in digital, not
It's
just digital, I would say like marketing, all
Yeah,
spaces.
that I think that's one of the perks that comes up with working in a company like Wipro, because you can keep switching. Unlike Extra, where I basically represent business, when I used to work with Wipro, it was mostly with different projects. So a project, and then you basically get bored of that project, you move on to another technology, another industry, and it's a completely different ballgame. So it's a lot of experience, a lot of good experiences, as I see.
Perfect, perfect. So let's come to the digital customer experience space. Uh, how do you feel that people are more likely to purchase from brands which personalize? And what are some of the major steps that you have taken to personalize the online shopping experience for extra.com?
So it's a very interesting question. So again, as I said, right, from the onset of our journey, our digital transformation for Extra.com, when I started off here, our basic intent, or Extra's basic intent at that point of time, was to make sure we get a full-fledged website out to customers, right? From an online perspective. So stores were doing Alhamdulillah really well, still doing really well actually. But our online space was mostly it was mostly a digital catalog where some customers would buy, but it was not like it wasn't really tailored, suited for even online shopping at that point of time. So that journey itself, from the last 7 years, to move from, let's say, just building a website and sending out communications, sending out mass communications per se, mass blasts, without giving a heed to what customer really wants to buy, etc. From that position to come to a place where we are using a lot of technologies, including Algonomy at this point of time, where we are tailoring our customer experience and journey to be more personalized. More importantly, our communications, tailoring
Mhm,
them to be more personalized. So we are sending the customer information, advertisement, marketing based on what is he looking for at this point of time. So again, uh, it's very difficult to say that we'll reach a saturation point over there, but because every day technology is changing, every day customers' expectations and needs are changing. But then the evolution for us over the last 7 years has basically seen the difference in the buying patterns as well. So as opposed to me sending a mass blast of, let's say, the new iPhone is here, I'm going to send it out to all of the 6 million customers, or all of the, let's say, public in the region, and to see the dropout versus me figuring out somebody who's interested in smartphones, in particular somebody who's really interested in, let's say, iPhones, and sending them out a very personalized, customized, and yet very relevant message. It's
mhm,
very evident to see the dropout, or let's say the difference in click through of, let's say, these kind of communications at this point of time. Even, let's say, the recommendations that we show to customers. So there are certain scenarios where we have to show generic recommendations to customers, and there are other scenarios where we basically show personalized, because we know this is a customer at this point of journey. And the let's say, even the click through or the conversion of these different blocks is very evident, even for brands, even for established brands for that matter of fact, to say that personalization is not the way forward. I think is something that is already should have been achieved in the past, and we are already almost way behind time with respect to getting to that saturation limit where we know that, okay, Shahin needs this item now. So
true.
that is the importance of personalization, and I think that is how I think I see it from a brand perspective as well. It doesn't matter really whoever you are as a brand, because there's enough competition, there's enough choice at this point of time. Unless the right communications, the right customer experience is provided to and profile that customer as him rather than them. This is the most
Right.
important thing from a customer
So
standpoint.
true. So true. Yes, I do agree. I can't agree more that we should have done personalization long, long back. But nevertheless, you mentioned about using
Too
Algonomy
late.
for too late. We'll cover up. You mentioned about Algonomy as the tool that you are using to personalize for your customers. What were the, let's say, the points or features or comparisons that led for you to opt for Algonomy, and how have they been able to come so far covering the pain points?
Yeah. So the good thing with Algonomy as again, it's see every for me every marketing, let's say a marketing tool or every personalization tool, every recommendation engine comes with its own positives and negatives. No system is completely foolproof. No system that is aided by by an IT, let's say software, is never 100% foolproof, or is never sorry 100% satisfactory from a business standpoint, right? Having said that, the one good thing that I've noticed with Algonomy, and probably this is maybe because I've interacted with that one person, is the expertise that comes with the solution itself, right? So there are a lot of other recommendations engine as well. I have worked with personally a few others as well. But the stark difference that I saw with respect to, because I was and very interestingly, Algonomy, although it was called Rich Relevance before, this was my, let's say, first implementation once I joined Extra as a major project per se, right? So it's quite close to my heart as well, from that perspective. And the luckiest thing
Perfect.
was I got to deal with somebody, an expert on Algonomy, Rich Relevance side, where the person was usually when we go with partners, they're more inclined on the implementation level, right? To say that okay, how can we get this quickly implemented, quick to market? What is the best implementation techniques? Let's get more technical, technological, etc. But the person or the support that I got from Algonomy was before we got into even, let's say, technicalities. We were talking functional. We were like, Shine, you tell me as business at this juncture of your customer experience, what do you expect your recommendations to basically, to what kind of recommendations do you want to show to your customers? So I'm already bringing in a lot of customer insights, right? And then there's, I think, Algonomy's algorithm, I think, or the number of strategies that I've seen with respect to what I can push as data to customers, is quite a lot, as opposed to other tools. I've not seen a lot of other tools from a recommendation standpoint as a backend. I'm purely talking about the engine in the backend. But
Okay. Okay.
and I've closely worked with Algonomy's backend. The amount of strategies and I think this comes with a learning from both perspectives. One is the let's say industry best standards, the expertise that comes with the person who's working on it, and also getting inputs from customers. When I say customers here are not actual end user customers, but business, right? So
Right.
having incorporated all of these things into your setup, I think the implementation was really smooth. Although technologically you'll always have issues, which is mostly to do with integrations and stuff. But from a business integration perspective, Algonomy was amazingly smooth, even with, let's say, a merchandising team who's really not fully equipped to work with systems, right? They mostly function from a business standpoint. They're not really fully equipped to deal with IT systems as much. I call it
True.
IT system, but it's the systems per se. So Algonomy was even slightly easier for them to get into, and I think that that probably was a bit of a differentiation for me from an Algonomy standpoint. And of course, the other thing was also post implementation. It's not like okay, most of the vendors what they do is okay, once we're done the implementation, khalas, then I have a contract with you for 3 years. I don't care. I might give you support, etc., etc. But Algonomy, especially the people that I've worked with on Algonomy side, I've worked with Eve and a few others, Saeed and a few others as well. Uh, Now, these guys come back with recommendations from their side in terms of how okay, I mean, this is how you're utilizing us at this point of time, and probably utilizing only 10 or 20 or 50% of our available resources from our side. Why can't you maximize the rest of the 50% to basically bring in that extra bit of sales or that extra bit of customer experience? So that is another, let's say, important differentiator that I see from on Algonomy side, as opposed to some of the other partners or strategic partners that I've worked with.
True, true, very true. I can't agree more. Uh, what, according to you, was the challenge, like the biggest challenge we are talking about is when people were not understanding personalization, and when you started your journey internally, what were the biggest challenges and during implementation or selection of strategy, and how were you able to overcome them?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Just like any digital transformation, or even basically, whenever we wanted to, we used to have the old age or the age old waterfall methodology of implementation, and then agile came into picture. And then probably agile people did not figure out was you just don't put agile or implement agile in a team. You basically do it, top down as an
Right.
organization. Similar to that, personalization as a concept, although it's very easy to lay down to say that, yeah, it's just identifying me as a person. What are the different elements? And again, so there is always a thin line with respect to identifying Shine as a customer and not to invade into Shine's privacy, right? So there's always let's say that thin line, that this which is very important as well. So
True.
uh, as an example, if we were to launch the new iPhone, right? Although the mind is saying that fine, we need to, and this is, let's say, from an organization perspective, or from a people thinking perspective, although the mind would be saying that, man, we should personalize and send the communication for this new iPhone only to the customers who are really interested. But then there are also other tricks, other parameters playing in my head to say that I need to maximize sales, right? This is one of the objectives any retailer would have as an example. I need to acquire new customers. I need to basically convert other customers, not, and that conversion is a very interesting fact, because it's not to say that me as a retailer, I'm really interested in you converting from, let's say, a brand to another brand. But for me at this point of time, my most important priority is to sell this brand. So I need to probably make sure that I know I somehow change your mind and then migrate you from this place, this brand to another brand. So I think all of these are, let's say, internal conflicts that are major roadblocks for actual personalization, where customers, although we want to send out proper, measured, non-invasive messaging, marketing, or even, let's say, personalized recommendations to customer, there's always the devil that's playing around in our heads, which is, but there is a bigger objective that needs to be met. So how do we figure out the optimum? And both of them are important, and not to, let's say, trivialize one or the other, because both of the objectives are right, and
Hmm.
there's no actual right or wrong in either of the thinking. It's about finding that middle ground of how do I personalize, yet how do I basically make sure that I also get in the other parameters that are required from my KPI perspective, from my company KPIs perspective, and for me as a brand as well. So I think these are, let's say, few challenges from a retailer standpoint, from business wise. Integration, again, integration is all about data. So I am of the world, again, where I keep saying that we are far behind with respect to utilization of data. We have so much data, and I think probably we are late adopters. Let's say we are, as a region, probably we are slightly late adopters with respect to data. I think data mining, data selling, data as a business has been already, it's been quite some time, right? But the importance of data is being realized, is slightly already being realized. I think at the invent from the invent of COVID, this
Hmm.
is when people are slightly moving away from, not, of course, COVID. People had to move away from brick and mortar, come online, and then when you come online, it's all about, then I don't know Minu as a person, again, uh, not putting anything against your name, but sometimes it's for certain country people, they wouldn't know even if Shahin was a male or a female, or Minu was a male or female.
True,
If
very
that
true.
walked into a brick and mortar, I would know Minu is a lady or Shahin is a guy. But online, again, this is data. This is the power of data, and recognizing, identifying, collecting, and mining this data to basically push the right objectives for us. This is the most important thing from a technical integration of how we get the right data, and how we mine the right data, and how we use it, again, in such a way that this does not really invade my privacy. At the same time, it's identifying me as Shahin rather than hello, Mister.
True, true. We've touched upon a very, very interesting and very important aspect, I would say here, data. Like we moved from data silos to organizing, classifying data, grouping data. Then now we are at a place where we are stitching online and offline, like brick and mortar data has to come in handy for the online experience as well, and
And
vice
vice
versa.
versa, and vice versa. Yeah.
Right, right. So, in this age of digital disruption, what can be like let's say for the retailers who are starting, what can be done by these retailers to unify that online and offline experience without entering that, exceptionally personal stage, without invading their privacy?
So I think again, see, data collection is always very contentious, especially online, even offline. Offline, for that matter, you can't make a lot of these things mandatory, right? If you ask a customer, and again, it also depends on, especially stores. Online is again, it's two slightly different discussions per se.
True, true.
In stores, it depends on the person who's basically at the cash till, what is his interest to basically understand you as a customer. And I've noticed this, let's say, in even in a lot of supermarkets, groceries as an example, to the same, let's say, to the same store that I go. This can be any store, by the way. And I'm a repeat customer, by the way. So probably there are 5 salesmen in that store, and I've encountered each of these 5 salesmen. Probably not all 5 salesmen are gonna ask me if I have loyalty, right? Some of them would just basically scan the item and say, Go ahead, just pay." And the 3 others who are probably really interested, they would say, "Oh, do you have a loyalty? And then can you give me your mobile number? If not, do you want to be a loyalty member? Can you share your details?" So store is a very uh, is a uh, is a very personal experience. It depends on the personality of who's basically collecting this information from the store, and also how the customer reacts. It also differs region to region, of course. Every region has their kind of customers per se. Now, online is again another slightly different game. Online is about uh, every registration that we
Mhm,
take in ideally
mhm.
is an opportunity for us. At the same time, so how we basically, there are multiple things that you can incentivize customers to basically say that, "Oh, register up with us, and then get a 15% voucher code on your next purchase," or whatever that is. So there's a subtle way of how you take the initial registration and then take the rest of the information at a later stage, rather than pressurizing the customer to basically start filling up a form of 150 fields and basically to get into your registration. Nobody does that. I mean, that used to
True,
be the
true.
case previously. But even on e-commerce or digital website, there used to be forms of, like, let's say, 50 fields, your salary, all of your details, all of the details which you don't want to even give somebody. These kind
True.
of information is asked. And I think over a period of time, e-commerce, digital space have realized that a lot of this is actually intruding into somebody's private space. I don't want to basically define what is my gender, or what's my pay scale, or where do I work at this point of time. It's not important. I don't want you to know my birthday, as an example, or my age. I'm very sensitive about my age, as an example.
Mhm,
So it's about subtly first, you know, helping customers realize probably them registering with us is for a different purpose. It is probably to better track your orders. It's probably to marry your data between online versus offline, because offline we are capturing the data, etc. And then subtly, at various points of the customer journey, try to gather information in a non-mandatory fashion, again, either by
mhm.
incentivizing them or telling them, "And if you do this, we can give you this, right? If you give me this information, then I can tell you when the or if you, as an example, if you tell me what is your interest with respect to, are you interested in smartphones, I can tell you when the next smartphone is coming, rather than me basically sending you smartphones, refrigerators, washing machines, ovens, and all kinds of products as in marketing." So it's a way of how, again, it depends on your tone of voice, it depends on how you gather this information. So the collection of data from both these points are completely different. And it's,
True.
especially in stores. Online, again, you can always devise journeys because you will get a lot of reference. In stores, there is nothing that you can do. It's completely dependent on your store personnel, it depends on your cashier or whoever's getting that information. If he's good, if he has all of the information, if he knows how to deal with customers, then you'll get the information, else you'll not get the information. And once you have this information, it's important to unify. I think from a technical perspective, what happens usually as an issue is sometimes the parameter that we use to identify a customer, it can be mobile number, email address, or a customer ID, whatever that is not really the same between your stores versus online. And because of that, there usually is a duplicate in terms of how do I identify the customers. But if we and you asked for somebody who's going to start, right? If they can already define that parameter, this is going to be my identifier for a customer, it's a mobile number or an email address, then things will become very easy because that becomes your primary key. And then there's no
True,
duplication of that
true.
value. So then once you have the data across both, you're already marrying both those data. So I think that probably would, again, easier said than done. It's I've had all kinds
Right.
of experiences with different kinds of clients, so easier said than done.
This concludes the first part of my conversation with Shahin. Stay tuned for part two, where we dive deeper into personalization, the role of AI, machine learning, and so much more. Till then, take care and stay safe. Thank you.